Okay, so I'm going to be speaking about why social media is the key to search engine rankings, especially in 2016. So if at any point in the presentation you want to get involved on Twitter, feel free to tag us. You can use the company account at Skyline Social Co, as you can see there. You can tag me at Ash Davis, and you can use the hashtag #WinMoreBusiness to get involved, and we'll be monitoring everything that's happening. So it'd be a really good way to interact with this event in real time right now. So before we begin the presentation and get into the meat of everything, I wanted to talk to you about what we're actually going to be covering today. So first of all, we're going to speak to you about what is SEO. Why is it important in the first place? So why should you be doing this in your business? Why is it essential to do this? And how does SEO actually work? So this is the most important part, and this is the most, I'd say, interesting part of the presentation as well, because we're actually going to simplify the whole SEO process for you. So if you've done anything with SEO before, you can know that it can actually get very complicated. So what we've done is we've simplified everything for you into three main principles that no matter what sort of changes Google or other search engines might do in the future, because trust me, they do change a lot, these principles will stand the test of time. And no matter what happens, if you apply this in your business, you will get results, both short-term and long-term results that will help your business grow and succeed on the internet. So it's incredibly important, an incredibly important part of the whole presentation, of the whole webinar. And make sure you take lots of notes, because there's going to be lots of action items that you can go away and implement in your business from today. So before we begin, I just wanted to speak to you a bit about my background. Now, this is really important because it's important for everyone to really understand why I am speaking to you about SEO and why I'm talking to you about using social media to help with your SEO results. So if we go back many years, I'd say about 10 years, in 2006, I basically started building websites for myself as a school hobby. So it was something that I enjoyed doing. I built a website for a school project. It was about video games at the time, because that's the kind of stuff I was into. And I essentially taught myself how to get it to the top of Google. So I used to read lots of different blogs and websites, and I used to actually literally get my hands dirty and actually do the work to take the website to the top of Google by creating content and doing all kinds of things like that. But essentially, I taught myself how to do it. I built a website about video games. I think I was around 15 at the time. And then after that, what I did is I sold the website on an auction site. So at the end of the school project, I didn't really need it anymore. So I thought, well, why don't I just auction it online? So I put it on the auction website for about $1. And then, with auction websites, people bid, and then it went up to $10, $100, $200. And I wasn't really expecting to get anything from it. So $100 would have been great. But funny enough, literally, I think it was 2 or 3 days later, someone actually messaged me directly and said, hey, we've seen your website, it's at the top of Google, looks really good, we want to buy it from you. And they offered a buy it now price of $1,500. And we thought, well, I thought, great. I didn't even really want the website anyway, so yeah, sure, I'd take it. So it was at that point when I realized, wow, you can actually make money from the internet. It's crazy. And what I thought is, okay, well, if I did it once, I can do it again. So I built another website. I got it to the top of Google, I monetized it, and then I sold it. And I did that throughout a lot of my school years, and it was quite fun. It was a nice way to make some extra money on the side. My parents didn't really understand how I was making this money, which is a bit worrying sometimes for them, but I showed them it was all legit. And then actually one of the websites that I did build, it got so big, it was basically at the top of Google for virtually every single video game, every single console that you can think of. It was getting thousands and thousands of unique visitors every day. A company in America, they saw it, and they actually said, okay, we've seen you guys everywhere, we just want to buy you out. So they offered a significantly higher price than any of the other websites I've ever sold before. So with that money, it was around the time when I was starting to get bored of video games, because most of the websites that I would build were about video games. And I thought, you know what, I could actually invest some of that money to start my own business. And instead of doing this for myself, why don't I actually help other people, help other business owners to do the same for themselves? So that's when in 2008, I started an agency. We basically did web design, web development, web hosting, SEO, everything that a business would need to be able to succeed online. But most of what we did was actually outsourced in terms of web design and web development. It's not stuff that I did in-house, but I'd use different freelancers and people like that to do it. The only thing that I literally did myself was the marketing side of things, because that's what I enjoyed the most doing. And we got some really good results. So we worked with a lot of local businesses. It was really good fun. One of the companies that we actually worked with, they were just a local laptop repair business. And what we did is we helped them get to the top of Google, first of all, for Laptop Repairs London, which is where they were based. Then we helped them get to the top of Google for different types of laptop repairs. Then we helped them get to the top of Google for laptop repairs in pretty much every location in the UK. Then they were at the top for laptop repairs. So they basically went on to do incredibly well. And they were first for nearly every single different keyword that you can think of about laptop repairs, from screen repairs, Toshiba repairs, Sony laptop repairs, pretty much everything. And 90% of the business was coming from search engines, mainly Google. So this is a screenshot of them in the #1 position for the keyword laptop repairs, but that's just one of the many hundreds of different keywords that they were first in Google for. They went on to significantly grow their business. They expanded nationwide. They even had people contacting them from all over the world, because they wasn't just first for laptop repairs in google.co.uk, even though they were a UK company. They were also first in google.com. So they were getting people from America and all over the world asking them if they can repair their laptop. So it was crazy. So just using the power of Google and search engines, they went on to basically grow their business from nothing to turning over more than £2 million a year. So they did incredibly well. And then they later went on to sell the business as well. During that time, I was also working at a company called iProspect, where I got some good experience, basically working with some bigger clients, working with some bigger projects on SEO. So I worked personally on some clients such as Panasonic, Teletext Holidays, Disney, Johnson & Johnson. So just to get some experience in working with not just local businesses, but also some bigger brands as well. Then in 2012, I decided to work with one of my friends in building a web development agency. And we essentially were an alternative to using freelancers to do web development work. And that went really well. But it was at this point when I realized that really doing web development isn't what I enjoyed doing. And I decided to leave that and then actually go back to my roots and do what I enjoyed doing the most, which was the marketing side of things. And that's when in 2014, I basically rebranded the business I started in 2008, the agency that started. And instead of doing everything, web design, development, hosting, we decided just to streamline and focus on what we're the best at, which would be the marketing side, which would be SEO and social media. Now, something really interesting happened while I was doing this. And while we were doing SEO for a lot of our clients, we actually, because of the way that Google was changing and with all its changes in its algorithm, we actually started to use social media to help our clients improve their SEO rankings, improve their search rankings. And what we realized is that by doing social media, we actually started to get good results for our clients just using social media alone. So we were generating leads for them, we were building brand awareness for them, we were helping them position themselves as experts in what they do, just using social media. And what actually happened is that we evolved into a social media company simply because of the good results that we were getting for our SEO clients. So it was a bit weird in the way that it happened. And as we started to focus more and more on social media, we started to get more and more better results for our clients. So that's when in 2014, last year, we actually decided to primarily focus on social media. So now, as you probably know, we're known as Skyline Social. Social media is the main focus of our business. It is, what we do. But as a side product of doing social media for clients, we also help them with their SEO. And the great thing about this is that it doesn't really cost anything extra. You're essentially paying for an SEO campaign. So you're paying for a social media campaign and you're getting the benefits of an SEO campaign virtually for free. So that works really well for our clients. But what we're actually going to show you in this presentation, in this webinar, is how we actually do that and how you can do the same. So how you can get the same kind of results for your website, and we're going to show you everything you need to know to get to the top of Google for your own website and for your own business. So hopefully you can see the potential in getting to the top of Google, and hopefully you're ready to do this for your own business now as well. So enough about us, let's get started. So first of all, what is SEO? So in a nutshell, SEO stands for search engine optimization. And what's interesting about this slide is if you type anything into Google right now, you'll get really two sets of results. So you'll get what's called the sponsored listings, which is advertisements, which are at the top and usually on the right side of Google. So what I've done is I've highlighted it there so you can see it. And then you also get what's called the organic search listings. So this would be what comes up naturally in Google. So the sponsored listings, people actually pay to be there. So they pay every time someone clicks on one of them links. They would have to pay, it depends, on how much you pay. It would depend on what kind of keyword it is and how competitive it is. But essentially what's really interesting about this slide is that even if you're doing Google AdWords, which is basically paying Google to be at the top of Google for different keywords, 30% of people only click on these sponsored advertisements. Most people, the majority, 70% of people actually skip the adverts altogether, and they look at what's appearing first on Google organically. Because a lot of people know that these adverts are basically sponsored adverts, so they're advertisements. People are paying to be there. So they think really that if they type something in Google, they think that the best results for what they're looking for are going to be in the organic listings, because they think these are appearing first on Google naturally, so they must be the best at what they do. So even if you're paying Google to get to the top of Google, which is great, that's a really good thing that you can actually do, you're still missing out on a lot of potential traffic by not doing SEO. So it's still important to do SEO no matter what happens. So basically, SEO means getting more traffic to your website using search engines. So now that we've established what SEO means, how does it actually work? So first of all, SEO can be very complicated. I'm just going to go out there and say it. So this is probably one of the most complicated slides you've ever seen in a webinar or a presentation. But don't worry, we're not going to go through it or focus too much on this. But I just want you to understand that there are many different factors that affect SEO. And this is basically what's called the periodic table of SEO success factors, which was produced by a company or a website called Search Engine Land. But essentially, it's for you to understand that there are lots of different elements that can affect your SEO ranking. So it's not just one thing on its own that affects your SEO. But a lot of these different elements can be combined together and form different sections. So you might see in this table here that on the left you have what's called the on the page SEO, and then you also see on the right it says off the page SEO, so off the page factors. So there's two main things that affect your rankings on Google: things that are on your website and things that are off your website externally. And there's some things that can affect it positively and some things that can affect it negatively. And all these different factors work together, which basically determine in Google's algorithm where you appear on the search engine listings. So this is, this can be quite complicated. So what we've done for the sake of making this super easy to understand is we've basically simplified it into three main aspects of SEO. You've got the technical, you've got the content, and you've got the links. And we're going to go through each one of those and explain what you need to do in your own website to achieve SEO rankings in each three of these elements. So in order to simplify it again, if you imagine your website was a house, the technical side of that would be how the house is structured, how it's built. So if it's built really well, if it has good foundations, it's going to help everything else that you do, everything else that's inside it. It's gonna basically get you off to a very good start. So it's very important that before you do anything, you make sure that you have what's called basically a search engine friendly website. So we're going to show you some of the things that you need in order to do this. So that would be the technical side. So that's like the structure of a house. So the second thing that can affect the rankings is the content. So again, using the illustration of a house, this would be what's inside the house. So, if you have something inside the house that looks really good, it's really appealing, that is going to help. If you have something that's inside the house, the house might be structured really well, but it might be completely terrible or disastrous inside, or not look really good, then that again is going to affect it negatively. So it's not just the structure of the house, it's also what's inside the house. And this would be things such as content. And we're going to show you how you can get the best stuff inside your house or inside your website, so how you can get the best kind of content on your website. So that affects the rankings as well. And then the third thing, and we're going to go into this in a lot more detail on why it's so important, is links. So this is, again, using the illustration of the house, this could be likened to other people talking about the house. Maybe people in the neighborhood saying, have you seen that house? It's amazing, check it out. It's probably a really bad example, but just use your imagination. It's essentially people talking about the house. It could maybe be the house being featured in different magazine articles or published in the news. It's the more people talking about it, the better seen, and the more people that will know about the house. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through each of these three things one by one, and we're going to start with the technical side. So before we begin going into the technical stuff, I don't want to get too technical with this. So you can really, really dig deep into this, and there's probably 100 or more than 100 different technical things that you can do in your website to improve it. So I'm just going to focus on a few really important ones that especially lately have been known to really affect your rankings, and it's just good to be aware of what they actually are, especially if you're wondering, is your website built well from a technical standpoint. One of the first things that you need to keep in mind is, first of all, how old is your website? So Google does tend to place some favoritism and more authority on websites that are older. So if you've just launched a brand new website, it's going to be harder for you to rank for certain keywords than it is for a website that has already been established. So that's something that's obviously quite difficult to control, but it's still worth keeping in mind. That if you do have a brand new website, it's going to be more difficult than an older website to start getting rankings. But it's not impossible. It will just take a bit more time for you to build up your trust with Google. One of the other things that you need to look into is, does your website have any broken links? So if you have pages on your website that don't work anymore or that don't exist, this can be really bad in Google's eyes. If you link to other websites, even that maybe don't exist anymore, again, that can be bad. If your website has maybe got hacked, and you link, and they've placed maybe malicious links on your website without you even knowing, which can actually happen. I've seen it happen. That can be very, very dangerous from an SEO point of view. That can even get you completely blocked from the Google search engine. So you have to make sure that all the links on your website, whether they're going to different pages on your website or whether they're going to different pages off your website, you need to make sure all the links are in good condition and they work. So one of the easy ways that you can do this is you can install a tool from Google called Google Webmaster Tools, and it will show you if you have any broken links. So it's really easy to do. It's completely free. You just set it up, you install it, and install it on your domain, and it will tell you how your website is performing and if there's anything you need to know about. One of the other things that Google, especially lately, has been placing a lot more importance on is how fast does your website actually load up. So again, Google wants to be able to provide the best experience for its users, the best experience for those that use its search engine. So if someone searches for something and they go to your website and it takes a long time to load because of maybe having very high definition images or videos or things like that, that could actually, in Google's eyes, provide a bad user experience and then make you rank lower. So all things being equal, it's important to make sure that your website loads as fast as it possibly can. Again, you can use some tools, which we can leave a comment in the chat box for you to actually see how you can find out the speed of your own website. And Google allows you to basically just put in your website in this own sort of testing that they have to test it and see how well you perform on a computer and on a mobile and so on. So it's important that your website does load as fast as possible. One of the other things that Google have actually confirmed that this does affect the rankings as well is having a responsive website. So again, it's incredibly important that your website works in all sorts of devices. So it should automatically adjust depending if someone's going to your website on a large computer screen, on a laptop, on a tablet, on a mobile phone. Whatever they're using to access your website, it's important that the website looks good across all sorts of platforms. One of the other things that you also should definitely check is what's called your metadata. So this is some code that's behind every page on your website, and it's arguably one of the most important factors on your website that can help you rank for different keywords. So it's really important that you make sure that your metadata on each page of your website is first of all unique. It's written in a way that's captivating and interesting, and has the keywords that the page is about and the keywords that you want to appear first on Google for. So really what we recommend is that you basically create unique metadata for each page on your website, metadata that will be interesting and relevant for the different keywords you want to rank for. So I know, I didn't really want to get too technical into all of this. There's a lot more things that you need to consider, but these are just a few of the main ones. But essentially, these are some of the things that can affect your rankings in Google. Now, if you're not a technical person at all, it might very well be worth getting an SEO audit. There's many different SEO companies that can do this for you, and we can do it as well. It basically goes through your website and tells you everything you need to know from an SEO perspective in terms of how well it's performing and what you need to do to improve it. And it will present it to you in a non-technical way and give you items that you can go ahead and maybe fix or improve in your own website. So that's if you're not too technical, it might be worth looking into that. But essentially, that's most of the technical stuff that you need to keep in mind for your website. Now, apart from that, it's worth keeping in mind that the technical stuff is really something that once you do and you get it right, you don't really have to worry about it too much ever again. And then you can move on to the next stage, which is the content. So there's this expression in the SEO world that content is king. Content is one of the most important things that can really help you rank high on Google. But one of the things that I'd like to actually mention is that content isn't just for ranking well on Google. So there's all kinds of different content that you can have. You can have blog posts, you can have videos, you can have webinars, for example. This could also be content. You can have different guides and tutorials, infographics, ebooks. There's all kinds of things that you can have. Essentially, content is creating good and useful information that you can use on your website. And the benefits that come from content are not just SEO benefits. So there's a few statistics that are pulled up about content and why it's important. I'm not going to go too much into detail with them, but just so you can see here, on average, companies with blogs produce 67% more leads per month. And there's all kinds of other statistics as well that show the benefits of using content, of having a blog. So if you don't do anything else and you just do one thing, which is have a blog on your website and do your best to update it regularly, that will have a significant impact, not just on SEO, but in your brand, because you can actually tell people your story. You can you represent yourself in the way that you want to be represented. You can provide value to the people that go to your website and the people that might find your website, to prove to other people that you are an expert and you know what you're talking about. So there's lots and lots of benefits that come from using content. And when I'm saying using content, I mean creating unique, good quality content. So don't just put anything out there. It's really important that you produce good quality content. Another big reason why content is also so important is that, again, a lot of people don't really know about this, but there's sort of a hidden technique that you can use with content to help you rank on Google. So this graph shows you how you can do it, but I'm going to actually explain what this all means. So if you go on Google and you try to appear at the top of Google for a certain keyword, let's say it's a highly competitive keyword, such as maybe I don't know, a solicitor, or it could be accountant, or something that has a lot of competition, and it's only one word or maybe two words long. there's going to be a lot of competition for this. So it's going to cost a lot of money to actually get to the top of Google there. Because you're going to have to create tons of content, and you're going to have to do tons of things from an SEO perspective to achieve them rankings. Not only that, if you appear on the top of Google for one-word keywords or maybe two-word keywords, you're going to get tons of traffic, but the chances that this traffic actually converts isn't as high as you might expect. For example, if someone types in accountant into Google and you appear first, you're going to get a lot of traffic, and you are going to get traffic from people looking for accountants, but you're also going to get traffic from people that might be researching information about accountants, or it could also be your competitors. So there's going to be a lot of traffic that doesn't necessarily always mean it's going to convert, or it could be the best traffic. So one of the things that we also recommend you do, especially initially if you're a new website and you're just starting out, is there's this thing in SEO called the Long Tail SEO. So this means targeting keywords in Google that have three or more words inside it. So in the example in this graph, you can see you have the one-word phrase, which is shoes, which obviously is going to have a lot of competition. And it's also going to have a lower probability of conversion because people could be doing research about shoes. Doesn't necessarily mean they want to buy shoes. Then you have the 2 to 3 word phrases, such as maybe men's shoes. Again, it's going to increase slightly the probability of conversion, and it's not going to cost as much to actually rank for that keyword. It's going to take less time as well because there's less competition. Or you can go after the long tail SEO, which is what's in green, and this is the more descriptive phrases. So this, for example, would be, in this example, it would be red Nike men's running shoes. So this, if someone types that specific keyword into Google, there's going to be a higher chance that if they go to your website and you provide them exactly what they're looking for, if you provide red Nike men's running shoes, there's a higher chance that they'll actually convert because they've specifically typed in what they're looking for. Now, what's interesting about this long tail SEO is that there are literally thousands and thousands of different keywords that people could be typing in. So even though individual keywords don't get lots of traffic, so maybe only a few people type in red Nike men's running shoes, maybe it's only typed in a few times a month, but maybe people type in black Nike men's running shoes, green Nike men's running shoes. So there's tons and tons of different descriptive phrases that people might be typing in Google. And what's great about creating content is that if you have a page on your website about that keyword, about that piece of content, and not just any page, but a page with actually useful information about that specific phrase, you can actually rank relatively easy for that keyword. And because there's less competition, it's not going to take as much time to actually rank for that keyword. And because people are actually typing in specifically what they're looking for, there's a higher chance that you're going to convert the people that are searching for that phrase. There's a high chance that they'll convert into customers. So there's a lot of benefits for targeting the long tail SEO. So what we recommend for clients if they're trying to do SEO is, rather than focus on the big keyword, that the end goal, something that could take years to achieve, we recommend they start small and they start on the descriptive phrases to begin with, which have less competition and a higher probability of conversion. And you can target them by creating content, and then you can work your way up to the higher, to the more competitive keywords, which have higher volumes of traffic and a lower probability of conversion. So that would be the organic way to do it. So by creating content on different subjects on your blog, so every week, or maybe at least once or twice a month, just talk about something different that would be that people could potentially be typing in search engines. The more that you do this, the more that will actually improve the traffic on your website. The traffic, of course, coming from search engines. So it's funny that we're actually talking about this, because I was speaking to one of our good friends, Grant, who's the founder of a company called Rocket Spark that build simple websites for businesses. And what he was saying is that he recommends a lot of his clients actually build blogs for their own websites. And one of the things that he's found himself for his own website is that what he says here is that he said that when he diverted his PPC budget into creating high quality original content for our blog, as he says, we took an initial hit in traffic, but organic search traffic has now significantly increased without having to keep feeding the meter. So what this means is they is that they took their PPC budget, they put it into creating high quality original content for their blog instead, even though they dropped off initially, because obviously they're no longer paying a PPC budget, so they're no longer paying Google to be at the top of Google. Because of that, they're obviously going to lose some traffic initially, but in the long run, because they invested in high quality original content, their search traffic has now significantly increased without having to keep paying Google every time someone clicks on their sponsored advertisements. So not only did their search traffic increase, and they actually saved money in the long run, they also helped build up more of a brand and a relationship with potential clients because they were creating original content for their own website. So we've spoken about the first two things. The first thing being the technical, so everything that's on your website from a technical standpoint. Then we've spoken about creating content and the importance that actually has, not just for SEO, but for everything that you do in your business. But now we're actually going to move on to the third, final, and most important aspect of SEO, which is links. Now this is, I mean, a lot of people might know that this is important. People probably have heard of things like backlinks and stuff like that when it comes to SEO, but not everyone really realizes how massively important having more links going to your website actually is. It's more important than anything else that you can do, and we're going to show you why that is. But first of all, what is a link? What do I mean when I say link? So a link would be basically another website that has a hyperlink going to your website. So in this example that I've just got here, there's another website and it says, hello and welcome to my website about dogs. If you want to buy dog toys, then visit our other website. So then when they click on dog toys, that would be a link if it goes to your website. So in Google's eyes, they use sort of, in simplified terms, a voting system. So the more votes or the more links that go to your website, the more power and authority and the more importance Google places on your website. Now, it's not just about the quantity of links, but it's also about the quality of those links. So if you have a link going to your website from a blog that no one's really heard of or no one really reads, it's going to help, but it's not going to be as important as, say, for example, you had a link going to your website from a really big news website. So such as, say, for example, you're featured on Yahoo News and you had a link going to your website from the Yahoo website. That's also going to have a significantly bigger impact compared to a smaller website that links to you that no one's really heard of. So in a nutshell, links are when other websites talk and link to your website using a hyperlink. And essentially, the more links that you have and the more high quality links you have, the better you will rank. Now, again, what a lot of people don't also know is that what the link actually says when it goes to your website is also important. So for example, in this example that we have here, where you can see dog toys is underlined in blue, because the link because the link has the text saying dog toys, Google knows that this link is going to a website that is about dog toys. But it's usually best not to overthink this too much. The most important thing that you need to know is that links are important. But how important are they? Now, going back, quite a few years, back when George Bush was actually president, what a lot of people did, just for fun, is they linked to his website. So it's the website about George W. Bush with the text saying miserable failure. So loads of people all linked to his website with the text saying miserable failure. And then lo and behold, if you went to Google and you typed in miserable failure, the website that would appear number one was his website. Now, what's interesting about this is that on his website, it doesn't anywhere say the words miserable failure. Yet it still appeared first on Google for the keyword miserable failure, just through the power of links. So that shows how powerful links have always been and still are. But obviously this is manipulating the search results. There's no question about it. So Google, what they've done is they've continually been fighting back for any sort of manipulation to the search results like this. And they've introduced all kinds of different updates. You may have heard of some of them, such as the Penguin update, the Google Panda update. Essentially, the whole goal behind these updates is to stop people manipulating the search engine listings by maybe buying links that go to your website or things like that. They want people to link to your website naturally and organically because they want to, because what you have on your website is valuable information. So again, this ties in with the content. So if you create really good content on your website, create really good content that people actually want to share and want to talk about and want to link to, that's one of the ways that you're going to be able to get links to your website. And even though they've added all these different algorithm updates, links are still important today. And we know this because if you go to Google right now and you type in click here, the first 3 websites that come up, the first website says actually says the phrase click here, but the second and the third website don't actually have the words click here in it. So the reason that the Adobe PDF Reader is coming up number 2 in the second position, and this might be different on your computer, depending on where you're searching from and so on, but more or less it should be more or less the same results. The reason why the Adobe PDF Reader is coming up number 2 is because there are lots and lots of different websites that link to that page saying click here to download the Adobe PDF Reader. So because of that, because of all the links going to that page using that text click here, it's appearing number 2, even though it doesn't actually have the words click here on that web page. So that's just a very simple example of how important links are to your website. More recently as well, there was an interesting blog post where they analyzed over 1 million search results to see what sort of things the websites that were ranking first in Google all had in common. And one of the things that they found from searching over 1 million different search results is that the websites that are appearing number 1 on Google are the websites that have the most links going to it from different types of domains. So it's not just about having 100 links from one website, but having links from lots of different websites. So you can see here from this simple graph that the websites that are in Google position 1 compared to the websites that are in Google position number 10, which is at the bottom of the page, the ones that are higher up the page have more referring domains, which means more links going to them. So this is from a combination of over 1 million search results. So hopefully that should show you the power and how important links are. You can even get search engine results without doing any technical stuff, any content. You can still actually get results just through using links. I'm not saying you should do that. I'm saying that the other stuff is still really important to do as whatever happens, but links are still incredibly powerful. A lot of there was a recent survey that was done, and 70% of people actually said that 70% of SEO agencies actually said that links are one of the most important things that affect search engine rankings. So it's definitely worth keeping in mind for your business. So now that you know links are important, what is the key to building links? And this goes back to what we were talking about in the beginning. It's all about building a strong brand, building a strong business, and build yourself a website that make people want to link and talk about you. So how can you do that? One of the ways that we've found that's been one of the most effective ways to do this is by using the power of social media. And this is how social media ties into everything. Because by using social media, you can actually broadcast all the content that you create to people that are interested in reading that type of content. You can actually find your target audience, because these days almost everyone is on social media. You can find your target audience using social media, the different channels, Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, and so on, and you can broadcast your content in front of them. You can get your content in front of bloggers and people that are maybe news editors or journalists on different news websites, or maybe on their own website as well. And if they like your content, they can then share it and link to it as well. So social media is really the key to building links to your website organically. So what I'm going to show you now is 3 ways that you can use social media to build links to your website organically. So the first thing that you can do is build a community on social media. Build a community of people that are interested in what you have to say. So one of the ways you can use social media is you can use it to find people that are in your target audience. So, we've actually done other webinars which actually cover this on how to find your target audience and how to actually reach out to them. But, if you want to link to that, or if you want to have a chat with us and see how you can actually do that, that's a whole separate topic. But just so that you know what you have to do, you have to build a community on social media with people in your target audience that are interested in what you do. So, for example, imagine you do motorcycle tours around the world. The people that would be in your community, in your target audience, would be people that are interested in motorbikes, people that are interested in doing traveling, people that are interested in seeing the world and going on a bit of an adventure. So this is actually a good example of something that we're doing for one of our clients that do just that. They organize motorcycle tours around the world. And what we're doing for them is we're building a community of people that are interested in what they do. So on Twitter, for example, once we build up a connection and we build up a new following and engage with people that are in their target audience, so someone that's interested in what they do specifically. So not just anyone, it has to be people interested in what you do. We then reach out to them, and we reach out to them with a message that provides value to them. So in this example, for example, this is something that we sent out to someone on their behalf in the beginning of this year in January, and just, I'll just read it. It says, "Hi Mick, I'm Mike, the co-founder of World on Wheels Tours. It's been great reading your tweets. As you have probably seen, we've been running motorcycle tours to some incredible places around the world for over 20 years. I wanted to give you a DVD with more info on some of the tours we do. Would you be interested in a free copy?" So it's really good because it's providing value, it's short, it's to the point, and you're reaching out to someone that is interested in motorbikes. So the person replied back saying, "Sounds great, more than happy to have a look and promote you where I can." So he then, I've blocked it out, but then he provided his details so that Mike can follow up with him and contact him separately off Twitter. So what happened after this, which was really interesting, is that after he received the DVD, so the DVD in this example would be similar to creating content. He goes, "Thanks for the DVD. We updated our website. You're on the news and links page. I will try and promote you where I can." So he actually, without even him having to ask, he actually provided a link to Mike's website, World on Wheels Tours. He provided a link free of charge, and this link was done organically and naturally because he wanted to link to him. So it's a really good example of how you can use social media by building a community of people that are interested in what you do so that they can link to you from their own website. So here's an example of his website. It's essentially a advanced motorcycle training website, which again is related to the client's website, which does motorcycle tours. So it's a very good link, which will really help with their SEO. So that's one of the first things you can do: build up a community of those interested in what you do in your business. The second thing that you can do is, once you've built up a community, you can actually reach out to people that are bloggers and editors on social media. So one of the cool ways that you can do this is that if you have, this is good if you've already got people following you. So say you've got 1,000, 2,000, or maybe even more followers on Twitter, for example. What you can do is you can extract that data using a tool such as this one called Follower Wonk, and you can extract the data of all those that are following you. And then once you've extracted it into Excel, you can then search for those in their Twitter bio that have the keyword blogger. You can even search for people based on maybe their location, so bloggers in the UK. So you can see people that you're already connected to that are bloggers in the UK, and bloggers are great people that you can reach out to because they have their own blog and they can also feature you on their own website. It doesn't have to be bloggers, it could be editors or anything that you think would be good for people that have their own website that you could potentially be featured on. So once you find them, you have to think, say for example, you find a blogger that would be great for your type of business, and you have some really good content that would be useful to them. You need to then think, how can you actually help them? Because people are always interested in themselves, not necessarily in yourself. So you have to think about how can you provide value to them. So it could be maybe an opportunity for an interview. It could be you asking them for a guest blog post. It could be you simply saying, "Hey, I saw your blog or your website. I thought your visitors might be interested in this article that I've written," and then show them a link to an article that you've got on your website. And you could just say, if it seems like something that your website visitors would find interesting, it'd be great if you could link to it, and I'd be happy to help you back in any way that I can. If you have a product, one of the really good things that you can do is you can actually offer a free product review. So you can send them a product for free for them to review on their own website, on their own blog. And as part of the review, not only do you get some publicity, but you also will be able to get a link going back to your website, which again will help with your SEO. So that's one of the, if you have a product, that's one of the best things that you can do to generate links going back to your website. If you don't have a product, a physical product, and you're offering more of a service, then you might have to think a bit more creatively how you do it. But there are definitely many ways that you can do it, that. So, for example, with the motorcycle tours client, they don't actually have a physical product; it's more of a service, but they still have been generating links for their website using social media. And then the other thing that you can do is the content that you create on your own website, you can share it on your social media channels through social media updates. So it's very simple. Create amazing, really good, interesting content on your website and then tell the world using social media. So as you build up your community, as your audience grows, as more and more people know about your brand, and even things that you do offline, say for example, you organize your own networking events or seminars or things like that, things that you do in the real world, that can actually still provide value to your business and get you in front of more people, so that when you create content and you share that content, if people like it, they'll also share it back and they can also spread the word and put it on their own websites. And this again in turn will help with your SEO. So how long do you have to wait until you see some SEO results? So normally, just so it's clear, if you've never really done SEO before, what a lot of people think happen is that there's a gradual increase with SEO, but that doesn't normally tend to happen. The only way you'll see quick SEO results is if you're targeting keywords which don't really have a lot of competition. So say for example, you're based in a city and you target a town within that city, which doesn't really have a lot of competition because there's not a lot of people doing what you do, or in that certain area, it's going to be relatively easy to get them rankings. All you probably have to do is make sure that the website is designed in a SEO, search engine friendly way. And most of the time, we actually had one client where, back when we had the agency building websites, all we did was build them a website. We didn't do any link building or anything like that. And they appeared on the first page of Google almost, I'd say in about a week, simply because they didn't have much competition online, and they were still getting some good business and traffic from the keywords they were targeting, but it was easy because they didn't have a lot of competition. So that's the only way you can really get quick results. But if you're going after more competitive keywords where you do have quite a bit more competition, you're going to have to do a lot more than building a search engine friendly website, and a lot more than just creating content. You're actually going to have to build links going to your website. And what happens is when you start to do SEO and start to build links, you don't see results straight away. It does take time to get the results. So what normally happens, rather than a gradual increase, you normally don't see much for a good few months. It could be 6 to 12 months, sometimes even more. And then you start to see the SEO results increase. This is especially true if you have a new website as well, and you're brand new. It can take quite a while for your SEO results to show up. So what you need to do during that time is keep building up content, keep building up brand awareness, keep building up your social media so that you can get in front of more and more people. And then the SEO results will shoot up eventually. But the great thing is about the way that we're teaching you to do SEO is that using old SEO techniques, what would happen is that people would invest in SEO, they'd wait a long time to see results. Again, it depends on your competition. If you don't have a lot of competition, you can get results much quicker. But if you're in a more competitive field, it does take a lot more time. So they would invest in SEO, wait an unspecified amount of time, and then when results do happen, they enjoy all the benefits that come from being at the top of Google. However, our recommendation is the best of both worlds, because what you do by using social media is you invest in social media, you see much quicker results as a result of the social media activity, because social media can help you generate leads, help build up brand awareness, help you build up a community, help position yourself as an expert. There's all these benefits that come from social media. And as a bonus, as a byproduct of the social media work, it will also help your SEO naturally within time. So you get the best of both worlds, because you get short-term results with social media and you get long-term results for SEO without having to pay any extra for SEO. So it's perfect, really. So just as an overview of the 3 steps that you need to take to win at SEO, the first thing you need to do is make sure that your website is SEO friendly and make sure it has unique metadata on each page. The second thing you need to do is make sure that you create amazing content on your website. So that could be in the form of blog posts, video guides, even webinars. Just make sure you have good content on your website and you update it as regularly as you can. And then the third thing you need to do is build a strong quality brand, build up brand awareness, and generate new leads using social media. And then SEO results become naturally and organically. That is the best way to do SEO. So as an overview of how this strategy of social media and SEO actually work together, rather than against each other, they can actually work together. This is how we do it. And if you've worked with us before in the past, you've probably seen this slide before. It is on our website as well. What we essentially do as part of our social media strategy is we find and connect with people that are in your target audience. And then you can see in the yellow section, we build a high quality audience of people that are interested in what you do on social media. Then in the blue section, we post regular social media updates to keep them aware and informed of what you do and to position yourselves as experts and to build up brand awareness. And we can also share your own content that you create from your own website in these social media updates. And in the last section, the green bit, we reach out and engage with people to generate new leads, to start new conversations and generate new opportunities. And as you can see, this all funnels down to generate new leads and sales and opportunities for your business. That's the main part of the social media strategy. But by doing that social media strategy, as a byproduct of that, you can also build natural SEO links and you can also improve your SEO just as a bonus of the work that we do. And all you have to do is you pay for social media, or you do social media yourself if you can do it in-house, and then you can still reap the benefits that come with SEO. Now, I know we've covered a ton of information, and hopefully you found it really interesting, and you probably have lots of questions because this is a huge topic, and I've done my best to simplify it and put as much as I can into this webinar to provide you with as much value as I can. But if you still do have any more questions, what I'm also offering is the chance to get a free consultation with myself, where I will give you an SEO review of your website. I'll also do a social media review of your business, and I can also help you plan the next best steps for your social media and SEO strategy. And you get me on the phone or on Skype to basically ask me anything you want that could potentially help your business using social media and using SEO. So that's pretty much it. Hopefully you found the webinar really useful, and if you do have any more questions, feel free to take advantage of that free consultation, and I'll be more than happy to help. So I'm going to wrap everything up now. Thanks again for all your time, and I appreciate you taking the time to be on this webinar today. And hopefully we're going to be doing a webinar every month on a different topic. So hopefully you'll get the details of the next one, and we look forward to seeing you there. So thanks a lot for listening. Take care and have a great day, everyone.